Ready for Christmas, kids?
Ho ho ho! It's Employee a Million, and welcome back to SpongeComs. Today's episode is Season 2, Episode 8, or Episode 28 overall, the SpongeBob Christmas Special, or Christmas Who. It originally aired on Nickelodeon 20 years ago today, on December 6th, 2000. And this is very notable for being the first half-hour episode ever for SpongeBob, and the first episode to be over 11 minutes or 11 and a half or something, so will I be able to make this interesting the whole way through? I hope so. So, first thing you gotta know about me in this opening title sequence for Christmas Who and for subsequent Christmas specials, it is a bit off-key, but I like it all the same. Like, I would have preferred, more animation that had to do with Christmas, but whatever, it's good as it is. Another way that this episode is notable is that it marks the debut of Patchy the Pirate, a live-action host of sorts for SpongeBob that hosts most of the specials, especially in these early years of the show. He's played by Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob, and he's SpongeBob's #1 fan, which I can totally get. Who else puts photos of SpongeBob out on top of the fireplace for Christmas, am I right? And blows bubbles out of a pipe like him. That's a nice little bit. Thing about me and Patchy also is that he is a very mixed bag. Like, sometimes he can sort of upstage the SpongeBob segment if that's getting a bit boring. Other times he can seriously drag the whole half hour down, or hour in Truth or Square's case. So you really don't know what you're getting with Patchy anytime you get a SpongeBob special. And I think that's one of the reasons he's one of the most interesting elements of the show to me. Like, you get these episodes every year or so that heavily feature him and you don't know if they're going to be good or not. And I think that lends an air of unpredictability, which, again, makes him interesting as a character. Doesn't make him the best character in the show, but I think that this bit in Christmas Who is funny enough for, like, an introduction to how he is. That little quip of him going, "You, I'm ignoring." That apparently, according to the original commentary track, was something that they hoped would become like a thing said on the playground. It's weird that they focused on that line instead of the 7,000 other great SpongeBob quotes, but, you know, you can never predict what's going to succeed in comedy. So you get something like Patchy, which kind of goes all out. So, about this kid that they mention with his name and address withheld, it's probably not a real letter, but you do see a name on it for a brief bit, Mike Miller. I haven't been able to dig up any information about him. Maybe it was just a pseudonym that they made for the sake of it. I can understand if they did that. But overall, I think that this interpretation of Patchy as sort of loves SpongeBob but loves Christmas as well, it works for this episode. It helps make it extra campy, like some sort of low-budget holiday special from the 70s, which some critics have likened it to. It works. And I can tell that Steven Hillenburg was pretty proud of it and wanted to do it, because he was the voice of Poddy in these early Patchy segments up to the Lost episode, and technically the first SpongeBob movie, he voiced the snarky old parrot on the shoulder. As for what I think of Patchy and his performances, like Patchy the pirate character, for some reason I always thought that it was supposed to be related to Painty the pirate and their parrot. I don't know why. I guess pirates, there's 2 of them, 3 counting the movie, gotta fill in the blanks somehow. And I don't know exactly how true this still is, but at least in the early days, they would routinely film the Patchy segments at Tom Kenny's house. Again, don't know if that's especially factual. Maybe he had a different house or a holiday home or something. And it's probably not the house that he lives in now, 20 years on. But gives an iota of credibility to the whole, this is a very homely, low-budget production that I think just makes it even more campy and unconventional for a show like SpongeBob, which is like this big thing. I think that lends it, the Patchy segments, an air of irony compared to how they are later, because back when SpongeBob started out, Nick didn't have a lot of confidence in it. Like, they gave SpongeBob 12 episodes on its first renewal, and CatDog 100. And lo and behold, SpongeBob became this multi-billion-dollar phenomenon. So it leaves you wondering why they still do Patchy segments of such, like, low-budget campiness all these years later, even though they've sort of outgrown that. Some of this stuff I might say again in another video that I might be talking about Patchy in, but it bears repeating because what else can you really say about Patchy segments? And he appears a bit later on in the special. He takes up the first 5 minutes, I want to say, maybe 4. But yeah, if you don't like the Patchy segments, they're not too long in this. They don't overtake the special. They're just little wraparound segments for the beginning, the commercial breaks, and the end. Commercial breaks don't make too much sense for a DVD release, which is why they've cut down on it in re-releases, but yeah, that's about enough of Patchy for now. Christmas Who, the SpongeBob segment of this, was written by Walt Dawn, Paul Tibbett, and Mr. Lawrence. 2 of them are SpongeBob alumni at this point. Walt Dawn was still relatively new to SpongeBob, so yeah, has a very season 2 flavor to it. Something that I'm sure no one cares about is that SpongeBob didn't have a helmet in the original version of the opening scene where he goes to see Sandy. It was later added by the animators after being left out in the storyboard. And yeah, that's not very important, but it may be very important if you're a stickler for that sort of thing. It turned out to be pretty dang important for Survival of the Idiots later on. And I think that this is a pretty good Christmas special, and it's sort of evolved the SpongeBob holiday special ideas and principles. Like in the first season, you have the April Fool's Day episode, the Halloween episode, the Valentine's Day episode, and they're all simply 11-minute affairs. I mean, technically, if you want to count Bubble Buddy, Leif Erikson Day, Inga Dinga Durgan. Season 2, early Season 2, kind of does this as well. They make very short episodes out of them, even April Fool's Day, which is SpongeBob's favorite holiday. But for Christmas, they took a step up. They made something big, and hey, why not? Christmas, even if you don't celebrate it, obviously nothing about this is intended to, like, make a non-Christmas celebrator feel left out. Christmas is a time of year that people get together and reflect, and unfortunately this year, the year I'm doing SpongeComs 2000, it hasn't been, not a lot of people have had that luxury, so maybe people will watch Christmas specials more, maybe they'll watch SpongeBob more, maybe they'll watch Sandy running around like the Roadrunner, as if that can explain Christmas. Nothing can explain Christmas. It's just that good of a holiday. But yeah, there are a lot of different end-of-year holidays like Hanukkah and Kwanzaa that people come together about, reflect on the year. This hasn't been the prettiest year, but it's one worth reflecting on, so yeah, best have a cartoon sponge to lighten it up. And about this episode's interpretation of Santa Claus, it isn't like other episodes. He's not this weird elf figure. He's this weird live-action human played by Mike Bell, who wasn't even a SpongeBob writer until season 4, so what's he doing in season 2? I have no clue. But he doesn't appear until the end of the episode. And this song, The Very First Christmas, it is very warm and fuzzy. It's got this great old Christmas feeling to it. And for astute viewers, you'd know that isn't Clancy Brown hitting those high notes as Mr. Krabs. That's D. Bradley Baker, the acclaimed voice of Perry the Platypus, among other cartoon figures. It works well as an old Christmas song. Isn't tied down to a particular theme within the show like Hawaiian or sea shanty, but it doesn't need to. It's about celebrating and getting ready for Christmas, getting all this stuff sorted. And SpongeBob's able to do it pretty dang quickly in this episode. Like, they added plenty of snow to the list, and there's plenty of snow overnight. Probably even more in the morning, but maybe that's just the color work. Fantastic color work in this episode all around. Like, all the greens and reds of the Christmas decorations really pop out, and the way that the snow looks in the, like, middle portion of the episode, it lends the episode this very dire feel for the crisis point of SpongeBob not being able to convince anyone that Santa's coming. But it works. It's very good at feeling dire, but as more characters come around, it's good at making them pop out more. It takes advantage of the fact that SpongeBob has a colorful cast, and it's just so good. This episode is pretty dang good for their first half-hour attempt at an episode. I mean, technically, the SpongeBob segments are only 17 minutes, but it counts. And the old song, Santa's Coming Tonight, oh, that guy gets a bit of a beer belly sometimes in the bottom left. Oh, and now he's not wearing any pants at all. That's odd. But you get all these nice background characters singing Santa's Coming Tonight, which is clearly based on Jingle Bells. There are clearly some Christmas carols and songs that they use for, like, the background music. They have this very nice Hawaiian rendition of Jingle Bells, and it's cool to hear parts of the Nutcracker Suite pop up, especially when Sandy's explaining Christmas to SpongeBob, and when Squidward's being Santa and making everyone's holiday by selling all his stuff, or just letting it go. That's pretty good. Something else I really like about this episode is that it gets a lot of characters together. Like, even though Patrick isn't a big mover and shaker in this episode, he has some good jokes, and he sticks by SpongeBob for another hour or so at least. But also about Patrick, this is the very first episode in which they bring out his infamous button cheeks and bucktooth or baby tooth combo, which got really overdone in the Tibbet seasons, but hey, for a few weird faces in this episode, it works well. But again, they started overdoing it a bit to the point that Patrick kind of felt like a different character at points, even though it was just a goofy face that he was only meant to make once or twice in this episode. It's so strange. Oh, and there's an embarrassing photo of SpongeBob at this big Christmas gathering. I don't think that this is meant to be a nod. I don't think that the secret box later on in the season was referring to this episode in particular, but yeah, uncanny coincidence that not only this, but a claymation short from a few years later both have photos of SpongeBob not feeling too well at a Christmas gathering. It seems like this odd little running gag within the show that is only really pronounced in one instance, but is never really a thing otherwise. It's so strange, but I really do like it. And as for Squidward's role in this episode, he's kind of the glue that holds it all together. Like when I was a very young old fellow, I didn't really care much for Squidward episodes, especially as they got more hit or miss, but in this occasion, it really works. It really shows how much he cares about SpongeBob and how much he cares about Bikini Bottom. It must be a full moon every December 25th because it just makes people kinda. Plus, I do really like the gift SpongeBob gets for Squidward, or makes him this wooden clarinet that I'm sure he can kind of play by himself, but maybe not. Maybe you take all the stuff out. It's weird, but again, it proves that SpongeBob cares about the holiday, and yeah, SpongeBob's part in this is good. Patrick's is fine enough. I like those little donkey things. Nice little dirty joke they snuck by. Mr. Krabs is kind of there. He really wants a pony for Christmas, with money. I know a lot of other guys who probably want ponies for Christmas these days, but it ain't coming. And Squidward's good. Not a lot of, like, the secondary characters or tertiary characters. Larry, Mrs. Puff, and Pearl don't appear. Plankton and Gary only get small bit parts, but they're there. If you want, like, more characters and see how they celebrate the holidays, you've still got It's a SpongeBob Christmas in Season 8 for that. And as for Squidward's Santa costume, it kind of reminds me of the Grinch, because you've got this, like, cool-colored, well, mostly cool-colored character with this very thin, lean Santa outfit, but the point of it is the exact opposite. Squidward is not trying to steal Christmas. He's just trying to make SpongeBob feel happy, and he is definitely succeeding. SpongeBob is really dang cute in this part of the episode too, aside from the weird faces that he makes while trying to say Santa's name. It is like Patty Hype in that he is just this adorable little kid who just feels the joy of Christmas. Though I am kind of confused as to his placement in these portions of the episode, because he's conked out, but then Gary takes him away, and then he's there when the little girl comes around. There are some characters, like very small-time background fish, who get their Christmas wishes from the start of the episode come true. Like, they have this device that shoots bottles up to the surface, which is a really good gag. It's sort of flipping the old idea of a message in the bottle. And it's good that that comes full circle. You get Squidward getting a message from Santa, and you get these characters who wished for new teeth or new hair, these things. I don't remember if the cowboy guy gets his new hat that better fits his head. His old one already seems snug, if you ask me, but I'm not him, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, it adds good symmetry to the plot, makes it more fun to watch from start to finish and over again, because, oh yeah, that character gets that. Which is part of a good thing about Christmas specials. You get that sort of symmetry of a character wanting something, and Christmas presents are a very easy way to fulfill that. And I really like how Squidward thinks that a kid would want matches. Wonder how the episode would have gotten if he got the kid that. But Patrick's wish for more paper wasn't really fulfilled, but he got that watch. That's good. So, as I was saying before, this is a really fun way of exaggerating the Christmas message, in that it's not exactly about getting presents, it's the season of giving, and your parents usually get that for you when you're kids, and then as you get older, you start understanding that giving things to people on Christmas feels good. And this is, by all intents and purposes, Squidward's first Christmas, and boy, what a giving Christmas it is. He sells all his stuff. It's the paper all over again. And I really like that effect of Squidward running in and out at the same time. Even all the snow is almost gone, though it's still a pretty cloudy day. What else can I really say about this episode at this point? This is what I feared would happen. I'd have like 3 minutes left of the episode and not a lot left to say. I could bring up like the very end of the last patchy bit, which comes after more live action. They are really happy with the live action in season 2 because you've got the stock footage in Dying for Pie and Imitation Crabs, you've got the stock footage in Wormy, then you get live action cameos in Prehibernation Week, Life of Crime, and this episode, as well as the patchy segments. It's total mixed media at this point. It's very strange, but hey, might as well end SpongeComs 2000 on a absurd note, and what's more absurd than prolonged deranged hoeing? But about Patchy's little goodbye, I really like how they have Patchy do SpongeBob's voice almost perfectly at the start, and then it just gets more gruff, which, hey, he's kind of SpongeBob's voice actor, kind of works. It is Tom Kenny, so I like to imagine sometimes that this is Tom Kenny in this universe and he's kind of losing his mind. But also, little fun fact, Christmas Island is a real facility in Australia, or at least owned by Australia. Little known fact is that it's the birthplace of Sonic the Hedgehog, according to at least one continuity out there. Might as well end this on another dried out mascot, you know what I'm saying? But all jokes aside, SpongeBob Christmas specials have continued to be pretty good up to the present day. And yeah, this laid a good foundation for SpongeBob specials and SpongeBob Christmas affairs. It brought holiday themed episodes into a new frontier for the show. Oh, you can't have Christmas without a mistletoe. Sometimes forget that this bit is in this episode, but hey, it is getting pretty... It's getting pretty late, I'm getting pretty drowsy, and yeah, might as well end it here. So that was Christmas Who. My question of the week for you last week is, favourite Sandy episode? Cartman Reviews said Shopping List, Mr. P said Feral Friends, Ligurino said Rip Pants, Cartman TV, Texas and Feral Friends, Super Seal, oh, you're welcome, buddy. Favourite episode is Pressure. Jax is Survival of the Idiots. A Rail System is Sandy's Nightmare in Texas. Michael Eurismia's is Ripped Pants, but if that doesn't count, Pressure or Muscle Bob. Morel Diharan Sredivi, sorry, very sorry if I messed up your name. His favourite Sandy episode is Pressure, and no worries if your definition of Golden Age is season 1 to 7. Everyone's is different. It's good to get all these people to come together and talk about SpongeBob, cherish it. But my question of the week for you this week, or into next year, should SpongeBob do more holiday specials? Because they knocked out most of the major ones in the first 2 seasons, but they've still got Easter to make a real holiday special out of. They've still got St. Patrick's Day. That should be easy. I don't know how they'll do alternatives to Christmas like Hanukkah and Kwanzaa if they want to do that. There are plenty of Hanukkah specials on Nick out there, so yeah, might as well let SpongeBob join in on that. New Year's as well? Saint Soul's Day? Whatever that is. There's a lot to do. So I want to know what's a particular holiday you find underrated that you'd like to see a SpongeBob episode out of, and just share your thoughts. That'd be nice. Join me next time, next year at some point or another, haven't figured out exactly when, as I cover episode 29, The Argumentative Aurora within Survival of the Idiots and Dumped. Goodbye for now.